Hey guys, this is Rusty again with Collector Auctions, and I've got a brand new video for you today. Today we are going to be going over some of the books that I've been picking up from Heritage Auctions and from ComicLink. Now, some of these books are raw, some of them are graded and slabbed. Point being on most of these is they're books that I think that are really good values one way or the other. If they're raw, you know that I think I can work on them a little bit and then send them in the CGC, get them graded, and maybe bump them up a couple grades in what they could be. Really improve them and really put some effort into them and make them more valuable. Now, on the slab ones, there's two parts to this. One is, well, the first part is I think they're really good values. Whether I'm going to keep them for the PC or whether I'm going to sell them at some point, maybe pretty soon or maybe someday down the road. But we all know that the market is down a little bit and there's definitely some buying opportunities. I've done that before with Heritage Auctions. I think you'll like a lot of the books that I've been getting. But I went over to ComicLink and I found some really good values on there. Books that, you know, I was surprised that actually sold for as little as it did. I mean, it wasn't cheap, but it was definitely lower than I would have expected. And anyway, guys, let's just get into it. I'll show you the books that I've been picking up recently. Now, when I say recently, ComicLink, yes, over the last few weeks. Heritage, what I'm going to show you today is over probably the last couple months, because some of them I've been sitting there and I was kind of waiting until I had enough to really do a video. So it's not like they're completely recent, but I would say over the course of the last 2, maybe 3 months. So anyway, let's just get into it. Let's start with ComicLink. I've got them sitting right here. First one up is Spider-Woman #1. I bought this as a 9.6, and I've got a 9.0 in my collection that I had bought and I worked on a clean and press. I thought it was a super spectacular book, and it came back to the 9.0. I was really disappointed, but I was shocked that I could get this for as little as I did. Now, I'm not going to go over prices again. You know my feelings about that. I don't like sharing what I spend on this. I know some of you guys want me to share that with you. That's part of this experience. I'm going to let you guys do that on your own. You guys go out there, look for the books, do your research and everything. I'm going to show you books that I found value in. If you want to look for these books yourself, hey, help yourself. But I don't want to get into the business of telling you prices and stuff like this. Now, what I will do when I get ready to sell books, when I clean press and I get books graded back and I'm interested in selling these books, obviously that's the kind where I'll share prices and values with and everything. But yeah, that's just the way it is. That's the way it's going to be. So anyway, here is a 9.6 on this. I thought this was really spectacular. What a great grade on something like that. All right. Next up is a book that I probably should have picked up raw, but I didn't. And I've noticed that the 9.8s on Paper Girls #1 has really gone down. But this has been picked up, I believe, for one of the streaming services, I believe. And so it's still got a lot of potential. As a 9.8, this was completely an investment book. The price has gone down. I mean, again, I didn't want to really share prices, but I mean, I probably didn't pay more than $100 for this to begin with. So that right there, something I can hold on to for a little bit. And if anything on that show really breaks, I'll have this ready to go. I didn't have to buy a raw, send it in, hope to get a 9.8. I just went out and bought the 9.8. Now, this is a book that I just got back recently, my personal copy from 1982. I cleaned and pressed it myself. I got it back. I got a 9.6 on it. I was super happy with it. But it is Teen Titans, New Teen Titans #23. This is the first appearance of Blackfire and Adrian Chase, who later becomes the Vigilante. And I got this as a 9.8. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm buying these for what I'm looking to get. If I wanted to sell my 9.6, I would like to get as much as I paid for this for the 9.6. So how can you pass up a 9.8? I think it's completely undervalued at this point. So when I picked this up from ComicLink, guys, check them out. I'm not a sponsor or anything, or they're not a sponsor of my channel or anything, but ComicLink has some good auctions on there. They have tons of books all the time. Just check them out. Do your research on them. I found them very easy to bid and to get books. So I don't do a lot. I do most of my buying on Heritage, but I really do like ComicLink and a lot of the books on there. So got a 9.8 on that. That's really just spectacular. And then I picked up, I'm going to say this might be the second one I've picked up as a 9.6. I had bid on a bunch of the X-Men, the John Byrne X-Men books, and unlike Heritage auctions, you put in your price and basically the auction will just end. There isn't this final, like on Heritage, you can, the last few seconds of it, of the auction, you can put in a bid and it would extend the time for another few seconds and you can keep bidding it up. And that's not how ComicLink works. You just put in your bid and hopefully at the very end you've got a high enough bid, basically. I guess it's a little like eBay in that way, I suppose. But I bid on a bunch of these X-Men, the Dark Phoenix saga, the issues, the 130s and stuff, and the only one I ended up with was 138 here. This is where Cyclops leaves, the funeral of Jean Grey and everything, and yeah, I think it's the second 9.6 I've got on that. So I was happy to add this to my collection. If I've got two of these, I'll end up probably trying to sell one of them at some point, but still a good piece to have in your collection no matter what. But the big one that I ended up with, and I felt like I got a good deal on this because these can still run expensive even at this grade, but I finally picked up Spider-Man 194, first appearance of Black Cat. Now this is a book that I had owned and I sold raw, and I kind of wanted it out of my collection because it was in really good shape, but there was a tape pull, let's see, somewhere around the Black Cat's hair. It was on the white of her hair, and you could barely even see that it was a tape pull unless you really looked at it. It really was hidden well. For what a great place to put a tape pull, because you couldn't even tell it. In fact, I'm looking at the book and I'm thinking, wow, this is pretty high grade. I might have to send this in. And then I saw that, I'm like, oh, that's awful. I don't know what kind of grade I'd get on that, and I just kind of wanted it out of my collection. And once I got it out of my collection, you know, you have that regret. So I ended up been looking for this, but this obviously is a really hot book. It's still hot. Prices have come down, and as I said, it's 7.5 is not a grade that I really want, but this is in really nice shape for a 7.5. And I mean, to be quite honest, I'm looking at this now, and I'm telling you that spine looks really good. And you kind of wonder why is it getting a 7.5? I've got this is a book probably will have greater notes. I'll look it up. We'll see. We'll find out and everything. But right now, I'm real happy to own this in the collection again. So yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, that might be a candidate to consider breaking out and working on it myself. So anyway, that was what I picked up from recent ComicLink auctions. Now, as I said, my number one place where I buy books, bigger books, graded books, things like that, has been Heritage. Every week I go in there and I take a look at their auctions and I try to find books that are really good value. Really good value if they're graded, and really good value and condition too if they're raw, because the raw books I'll look at and I will say, let's see what I can do to them. You know, I welcome those opportunities to take a book and try to improve it. So let me show you the raws first. I picked up an issue of 133 of X-Men, the first solo Wolverine cover and storyline here. I picked up issue of Avengers 69. This is a Kang appearance. This right here is not this particular copy, but this was the very first comic that I ever bought as a collector. And my grandmother bought it for me. We did an order online from, I believe the company was called J&S Comics. I'd found their ad in some comic book at some point and sent away for a catalog. And I was a huge Kang fan back in the 70s and 80s. I love Kang. Kang and the Absorbing Man were two of my favorite villains of all time. So naturally, one of the first few orders that I got, this was the very first issue, and probably by the fourth or fifth book that I ordered and collected was Journey into Mystery 114, the first appearance of the Absorbing Man. My two favorite villains, but I bought this one because it had Kang in it. And I went back, of course I'm a huge Avengers fan, and at some point I ended up getting Sal Buscema to sign my original copy, and then down at Heroes Con, if you watched those videos, you saw I got Roy Thomas to sign that original copy as well. So I was real happy about that. But I wanted to get a better copy because it was just probably a VG fine minus. It's probably a VG plus. But I always wanted to get a better copy of it, so that's what I did with that one. I picked up a copy of, here, I can pull some of these out of the bags so you can see them. I've got X-Men 131, the first cover appearance of the White Queen, Emma Frost. Sorry, I should have had these prepped a little bit so you can see them. All the Raws are bagged and boarded with it, and then they're bagged and boarded a second time with the sticker, the Heritage sticker. But I picked up a really nice copy of Teen Titans number 44, Tales of the Teen Titans at this point, the first appearance of Nightwing. And if you watched one of my last videos, I literally got one of my original copies came back from CGC. I got a 9.6 on it. Spectacular. It's a spectacular book. This right here, I took a quick look at this when it came in. It looks equally as good as the one that I just got graded, so I'm excited about that. And I picked up, it's the first time I've owned this. This is Fantastic Four 51. This is what a wonderful thing. Ben Grimm's storyline here. Just absolutely love this story. Excuse me. Just classic Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, standalone book. I mean, come on. I mean, you look at all the stories, any comic today, for the most part. I mean, any Marvel and DC comic out there. I mean, what a bunch of crap that we have to put up with these days. When you can do a story like this in a single issue, this story has more heart and talent in this than you have in just about 98% of what is put out today in Marvel Comics and DC for that matter. I mean, come on. You can't tell me, I mean, I dare any of you guys to give me a story that's better than this that came out this last year. I mean, honestly. I sound horrible about that. I'm the bitter old man. Get off my lawn, guys. Get off my lawn. Alright, and the last roll that I picked up, and I picked it up because it was, I'm having trouble opening it too. I picked it up because it was a good value. It's not, I actually own it. It's my earliest Avengers comic that I actually own. But I picked up this copy because it looked in a little bit better shape than the one I had, and I thought it was a really good value for the price that I paid. But it is Avengers number 3. And love this issue. Just a beautiful, the Mariner Hulk taking on the Avengers. Just absolutely stunning. I love this. I love this cover. I mean, to even be honest, you know, I just thought about this. This is probably, out of those first 10 issues, this is probably my favorite Avengers cover. I mean, this is, how dynamic is this right here? That is fantastic. I mean, depth of field and everything. So, anyway, those are the rolls. I'm looking forward to working on all of those, that Avengers, and number 3 I'm going to have to be real careful with. It is in a kind of a good plus kind of range, so I can tell that cover is going to be a little brittle and everything. Alright, let's get into the slabs that I picked up. And again, I picked these up at what I consider good values. Wow, this is really stuck in here. All right, hang on, guys. And it's also books that I like. These are books that I want in my PC. The books I have raw in my PC, I can tell you that. But this is Avengers, which is this? This is 67. Part of that Ultron storyline. You've got, it's a 9.2. I thought it was, again, good value at the grade. Personally, I'd like to get a 9.4, 9.6 out of this. This Ultron 6, is this, yeah, Barry Windsor Smith artwork, Sal Buscema cover. Now Sal took over the art right after this, I think the next issue actually, for a few issues before his brother John came back to the book. But love this. I loved Ultron 6. Just great. Ultron's one of my probably in that top 10 of villains, especially for the Avengers. All right, we're going to keep the Avengers train going. You guys have heard me talk about my favorite Avengers books. They are the John Buscema, Tom Palmer artwork. Any of those books, whether they were from these issues you're going to see here, or from the issues that they did back, was it 255 through almost 300, I think. Either one, I love them. This is one of the first ones. It might be the first time they worked together on the Avengers. It's issue number 74. Got a 9.4 on that. Now, as I said, I owned all of these. I've owned all of these for 30 plus years. I'm not sure what the condition necessarily is. I haven't gone back and really inspected them, but I expect them to all be in that. At this point, I was buying some of these. I expect all of these to be in that fine, very fine sometimes, down to very good plus probably. But my guess is mostly in that fine plus kind of range. So, and you can tell it's an older slab. Some of these are older slabs, and at some point I'll probably get them. I'll work on them, and I won't work on them, but I may send them in for a reholdering, because these slabs are a little duller than today's slabs. The plastic's a little bit clearer for today's slabs. All right, now here's a book that I just picked up raw down in Charlotte at the Heroes Aren't Hard to Find store as a raw that was in really nice shape. I have bought it in the last year. I bought it as a 9.4, but this right here is a 9.6. It is my favorite comic of all time. #1 comic. Every comic I've read since day one to right now, this is my favorite comic. This is Avengers number 79. This is the Lethal Legion taking on the Avengers. And there's no real significance to this other than you finally start to put a connection between the Vision and Simon Williams' Wonder Man. And it's not, they don't even note that up here, of course, but this right here, if you ever get a chance to read this book, just marvel at the artwork and how dynamic the artwork is in this. I mean, the battle between M'Baka, who's really referred to as Man-Ape, and the Living Laser taking on Captain America and Quicksilver. I mean, man, those pages are just spectacular. I had a chance to buy one of those pages several years ago in Baltimore, and the dealer's, he's trying to talk me up. We talked a little bit about what was in my collection, and he talked about how I really need to trade up, basically. Take some of the artwork I have, put towards that book. Well, that book was only $9,000, and I think my wife would have had a cow. Now, of course, if I could trade some of the original artwork I own and do it, that'd be one thing, but yeah, that's one of the things. It's like I don't have enough art that I want to part with to want to get that page too. So anyway, point being is, you get a chance to read this book, just really look at the artwork. It's just so dynamic. Favorite book. This is definitely going to get reholdered. It's the old case again. 9.6 on that. Man, I am super stoked to own that right there. All right, now this I've got in at CGC. A really clean copy I have. I have high hopes for it, but it's in an economy order, so it'll probably take a while to get back in. And what's funny is you're already looking at it before I put the book up here because it's right behind me. And it is issue 111 of Captain America. Wow, look at that. You can see it right there. That's a print that I got from Heroes Con that I had Jim Steranko sign. Now this one, as I said, I had a really good copy. I think it's better than an 8.5, to be honest with you. That's in at CGC right now, so I'm waiting on that to get back. But I saw this 8.5 come up, and when I finally started buying slab books and looking at a lot of the older books that really I love, and it's like I don't need every book. I don't need to own everything, and I don't need to own everything slab. But there are certain books that I just absolutely love, and this is one of those books. I mean, everybody loves this cover. This is probably one of the most classic Captain America covers there is. And I felt like when I was buying, especially the Silver Age books, get anything in the 1960s, you can get an 8.5. That's a really respectable grade. So I was happy to pick this up. Again, I think I got that at a pretty good value. Yeah, it's really nice. That is really nice. All right, continuing on. Now, as I said, all of these didn't get bought at the same time. I purchased these over the course of the last few months. So every week there's an auction on the comic books, and so I'll pick up a batch here, a batch there. I mean, it adds up, of course, but you end up having a pretty, this is a pretty good collection that I've been picking up here. All right, so here is issue 142 of the X-Men, and it's a 9.4, and I kind of did that again. Again, I want this as a 9.6 at the very least, but a 9.4 is something that's pretty respectable. Good value for the price, for the grade. I just went ahead, added to the collection. This is a book that I'll look to upgrade eventually, but right now it's a nice placeholder to have in there. 9.4 is definitely still very respectable. I'm running out of room over here on the couch. I've got slabs all over the place right here. I had just finished filming one of the CGC unboxings and I didn't clean the couch. So, all right, here is issue 132 of the X-Men storyline as well. This is part of the Dark Phoenix saga, and I don't think there's any significance to this. 9.4, again, it pretty much bought to be a placeholder. I'd like to get a 9.6 at the very least again, but I've also felt like a lot of these 9.4s you can pick up and maybe have a chance to break them open if there's value. If you've got enough room in there that you feel like you can do something more to them to pump them up, if there's enough value in there at a 9.6, it might be worth it. But happy to have another one of these X-Men in my collection. Let's see. Yeah, this is where Jason Wingard was revealed to be Mastermind. Yeah, it's no first appearance, I don't think, but still a key issue in that storyline. Well, key issue. It's like one of those issues. All of them are keys. And I've got two more left that I've picked up, and I picked up issue number 131 as a 9.2, and I'm kind of glad I got this now. Even at a 9.2, the issue, I had my roll that I had just gotten back in my last CGC unboxing, and it didn't meet that 9.6 pre-screen. I thought it was a really good issue. Didn't meet that, so it's going to be at least a 9.4, 9.2, who knows. So I'm kind of glad I went ahead and got this as a 9.2. Again, this is a placeholder. We'll get this grade up eventually, and we'll pass this on to somebody. But as I said, some of these 9.2s and 9.4s and some of these books like this, I mean, if the defect isn't color-breaking spine ticks for the most part, there might be a chance to do something more to the book. Maybe it needs a little bit of cleaning. Maybe needs to go over the spine a little bit more to pull out some creases. But all right, now the last book is actually the first book out of the ones that I had saved to show you guys. It's been sitting here for months, probably the last few months. It is one of my favorite books from the Silver Age of when I was young. And what I mean by that is when I was young, my grandparents' house was right next door. And hang on a second, let's get the monitor back on. There you go. Sorry about that. At my grandparents' house, there was a handful of books from the Silver Age that I imagine it was one of my uncles that had left the books after they had left years prior. But there were a couple of Spider-Man books. There was some Our Army at War, some Sergeant Rocks, things like that. But there was one Nick Fury book that was there, and it was issue number 15. It was this issue right here. It's the first appearance of Bullseye, the original Bullseye. And I love this artwork. I love the artwork. I love the how dynamic this cover was. I remember tracing over this cover as a kid and using it as a template to create my own characters. I mean, just the form was just fantastic. I absolutely love this issue, and I've picked this up. In fact, I've got a copy I bought at the Baltimore Comic Con from last year. Really nice copy. It's in a CGC right now as well. And sorry about that, guys. So we ended up I was talking about the book and the phone stopped, so having a lot of trouble with that today. The phone wasn't fully charged when I've been filming today, so not quite as prepared as I should have been. So sorry for the interruption there, but I was just talking about the book here, and sorry if I'm going to repeat myself, but yeah, this is a book that one of my uncles had left at my grandparents' house, and I love this book all over the years. Just beautiful artwork, and it's a book that, as I said, I bought back in October at the the Baltimore Comic Con, and really nice copy that's in at CGC right now. I think I might have another copy floating around as well, but this was a 9.4, found it on Heritage Auctions. Again, this is at least the third or fourth book that I've showed you tonight that is a book that's going to be sent in for a new slab on this as well. We'll get a new slab, we'll get the new label and everything. But yeah, really nice book. I love having this in collection. It's not a super valuable book or anything, but just for the PC, it's one that I wanted to have in there. That's a really nice book. So anyway, guys, that is what I've been picking up over the last few months from Heritage Auctions, and then in the last few weeks from ComicLink. I mean, it's got some really good books in here. I encourage you guys, go out there, look at these sites, look at the prices that you're seeing on books right now. Right now, it's a buyer's market. You can find some bargains. Some of the high-end keys are still going to be expensive, but they're not going to be as expensive as they were a year ago, even 6 months ago. So there's definitely bargains to be found. Otherwise, I wouldn't be picking these up with the idea of, one, just adding it to my PC, and two, holding on to them for a little bit and waiting for that market to rebound, and maybe there'll be candidates to sell, and then look for even higher grades on some of these. So anyway, guys, that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the stories about these books that I keep buying. As I say, every comic has a story, and I want you guys to remember that. These are my stories with the comics that I get. You guys have your own stories. I'd love to hear some of them. So leave a comment, let me know what you think of my books, and tell me about some of the books that you're picking up these days. I'd love to know what you're getting. And if you haven't already hit the like button on the video today, I hope you do that. And please subscribe to the channel. I keep encouraging everybody to subscribe. We are over 430 subscribers at this moment. I'd like to get up to over the 500 mark in the next month or so. I mean, I'm not actively going out there trying to really grow this channel. It's just growing on its own, and I hope you guys are enjoying this kind of content. I hope you're getting something out of it. I know I learn more by talking to you guys and getting feedback, so that definitely helps me. I hope it helps you too. So guys, take care, and I will see you for the next one.